Hello, everyone, and we're back, but only for a little bit this year as we close out this year with a nice little festive spirit and we talk about why we're happy to be alive. And we've also got a good guest coming to you live on Brother and the Man starting now. You're alive. I'm happy to see you're alive, man.
I am alive. How are
Wait,
we doing?
stop. We're doing good. Are you recording? We're live, but are we
We
recording?
we are recording. I believe so. We're live. So yes, there's no reason to doubt that we're being recorded live on
Well,
tape from
awesome.
across the internet.
Well, I'm glad you're here, that you could make it to this edition of the Brother and the Man show. Good to see you. I had some doubts. I grabbed my rosary beads and everything, and you're here. So prayers
Yeah,
are answered.
and I appreciate that, given that you're not even Catholic.
I know,
Um,
I know about it because I spent time in Italy, though.
yeah, I get it. So let's talk about what tonight is. Tonight is the night before Christmas Eve, and we've been taking for the majority of December off, and we're having a Christmas special. We're going to just say whatever the hell we want to we want to say, and some of us are coming up short of breath
Mm-hmm.
because well, let's bring in our guest and see where we're at first.
Let's bring in the guest.
And I might apologize ahead of time because it may be difficult for me to talk. You may have to carry my weight for me a little bit.
Okay. That's okay. I've been used to carrying you. It's no different than any other time.
We'll figure out why here in just a little bit. But let's bring in our guest because he doesn't like to wait, and I don't like to make him upset.
That's right. You don't want to see him angry. It's the one and only. We've talked about him. BAC. We call him Big Ass Craig, but he's just Craig.
To put that on there too.
Good to see you, man. Welcome to the show.
Good to see both of you.
We sent out the bat signal, and then it was answered. So you are here on this edition of Brother and the Man. You've actually been on the show before, way back in the day, in its first iteration, and now you are back.
Right, exactly.
So the thing about it is, one of our traditions on the show now in this new iteration is that, let's get this part out of the way early before we even jump into the show. You got to tell us what you're drinking.
Oh, man. I'm not drinking anything right now, but if I were to have a drink in my hand, I would probably have, at this point, some gin and tonic. I like to drink Bombay Sapphire gin with a little splash of tonic. That's my go-to these days.
All right, nice. Andy, I assume you're probably drinking cough syrup?
No, I'm close to it. I need something that burned the throat. So raw ginger beer.
I have, because I'm saving up starting tomorrow, so that way I got some good stuff. But tonight I'm going with the Gentleman Jack, back at it. I'm not going with anything celebrity endorsed. I know Andy hates that, so therefore I'm going with something non-celebrity endorsed until I become a celebrity one day, and then I endorse this.
How was that Tesla tequila?
Best tequila I've ever had in my life. Oh man, just
most expensive tequila you've ever had in your life for sure.
I don't know
with that tequila, huh?
Actually, wait, before you go there, different types of tequila these days. So what I found out is you cannot, so you want to stay from any type of silver tequila. You just use that in order to, if you plan on doing shots, you could do that. Both of us don't recommend that, for a lot of different reasons, or you can mix it with a margarita. But there are a couple of them, the Añejo and the Reposado types, especially with Casamigos. Those are types that you can sip on like a good whiskey, to be honest with you. Like you don't mix that with anything. You don't go making margaritas with that. You can actually sit and actually sip that like a good whiskey, like a good scotch is good stuff. George Clooney's Casamigos, awesome stuff.
All right, so I know you've been to a tequila connoisseur. I get it. All right.
Not a total tequila connoisseur, just on some. I do know anything like 1800 tequila, the silver. Yeah, you're not sipping on that. Like you're mixing that with something. That's for sure.
So Jeff's brother would be probably a tequila connoisseur at this point. His wife from being from Mexico, I know that he's taken to enjoying tequila. I can't speak to it very much, but maybe in the future we should try it.
What has happened to our dear producer Dan? I remember when he didn't drink alcohol.
He started drinking alcohol. He fell in love across the internet and met his better half, and they're now married, have 2 children, and I'm sure that somewhere out there they're watching this. But he's somewhat retired, so from the production game. I mean,
I thought you were good. Like, wait, he retired early. Like, that's good stuff.
No, I wish, and I'm sure he does too. But no, he's still working. So here's the backstory on why I am short of breath and short of language. A month ago, around Thanksgiving, we had a couple of shows. We did a Thanksgiving special, and we had a show about Star Wars where Jeff and Amanda came on, and we got into a kicking match about why Star Wars sucks. And we found at that time that they were both going to be going through COVID. And coincidentally, we decided to take the month of December off. We were going to do the Thanksgiving special, take some time to do the holidays, and then do Christmas live, take some more time, and then we would get back together as we get close to some theoretical inauguration. So what's happened in the time since then is that I've gotten COVID and come through it. I hope. I was allowed to leave the house for the first time today. We flunked our tests a week ago Saturday. So it's been a long 10 days, and my asthma is still lingering with me, as is my exhaustion. So I'm tired all the time. And if I talk too much, which I'm prone to do, I come up short of breath and start coughing. So if you see me wheezing, if you see me go mute, that's probably why.
Well, I will say that is unfortunate to hear. The one thing people always ask, because I know you and Jen have been very, very careful. Plus, me knowing you, I know how, anal retentive you are, and you're like, you'll freak out if anybody even comes close to you. So people always ask, well, how do you think it happened? Especially, when it comes to how careful that you always are.
Yeah, I don't know. To be perfectly frank, I just don't know. My daughter goes to school 100% virtual. So she hasn't been out of the house to any degree for weeks. She has one friend that she was hanging out with outside. They were basically walking around the neighborhood. My wife has been going to work 100% virtual, going in maybe one day a week to cut checks. I've been going in 2 or 3 days a week because I have to for my job, but I would proceed from the back door to my office with my mask on and lock the door and, just do my job. So unless I was doing a support call at someone's desk, we were being safe in the extreme. We were getting drive-through. We were having food delivered to the doorstep. We were having groceries delivered. We haven't been inside of a business since March, and yet, boom, we get it. So we thought we had a cold. Our symptoms were consistent with what would be a cold, and not consistent with the typical COVID symptoms. But then Jen lost her ability to, smell. She couldn't smell or taste on a Saturday. So we took the dog to the vet, and then we came home and we went and got a test at urgent care. And the next day we found out we have it. And then, things just, it's been scary. We weren't sure that on Monday we weren't both going to the hospital. Jen passed out. She overdid it Monday morning. I was manic with adrenaline. They had me on steroids for my asthma, and I couldn't sleep. Things got better after that, but Monday was really bad. Tuesday was touch and go. And then we got progressively better until the end of last week. And then we felt pretty good And then, it's been a slow 7 days counting of just marginal improvements, each day. But, I'm really having a hard time getting through 18 hours without being, wanting to take a nap or go to sleep. And I've got a buzzing headache half the time, and my asthma is kicking my ass. But those are typical for this time of year to a certain degree. The tired is really unique, and the headache is not fun either. Morgan is 11. She had a sore throat for about a week and got over it. Jen is, my wife is probably 95%. I'm probably right about 80%. So I feel good. I can think, but it is what it is. And this is not a joke, catching this thing. The good news is we're hoping we're immune for 3 or 4 or 6 months, until we can get a shot. And that the worst for us personally is over. We can at least put our guard down. We don't have to, we'll wear the mask, but if we get caught without the mask, we're not gonna, the worst is we've been through the worst. It can't be any better. And nobody got sick. Nobody went to the hospital. Nobody died. So, we're thankful, extremely thankful. It's just hard to be festive this time of year, given, everything that we're going through. So,
given the circumstances. And so that has definitely touched the Brother and the Man show twice with Jeff and Amanda, and now you and Jen. So rough stuff. Glad, like for them, glad that you are a lot better. 80% is better than 0%. So glad you're at that. So good news.
Yeah, I agree 1,000%. So, I just, I don't want to ramble about it. And apparently I did find my voice, but it is a thing, and it is scary, and we're glad to be through it.
So we don't want to make this a total show. Like, we want to get that out of the way, just to show just how real this is and how it has touched the show, and how that we've been through this entire gamut ever since we restarted the show, the different peaks and valleys, the way we've talked about it. We've gone through an election. We've gone through all these different things. Yep. So we want to get that out of the way. And so now that we've done that, we can talk about our guest. Our guest is here. We're going to have him say a few words about himself. Take it away, BAC. Back.
All right. Well, thanks for having me on the show. I popped in. I didn't know I was going to be this special. I thought I was just observing, but excuse me. Both of you know me well enough to roll with the flow. So happy to be here with you guys. I'll hang out as long as I can. I'm doing double duty tonight. I'm doing the solo dad thing. But a little bit about me. I'm a St. Louis native. Grew up with Pierre. Known this guy. The brother. Grew up with the brother since known him since like elementary school through high school, and all that kind of stuff. We go way back. We know where we both know where some bodies are buried at that we'll never tell. We got some things we both would need to take to the grave. Currently living in West Virginia. Been out here for a couple almost 2 years now. So yeah, having a good time. I work in healthcare. So Andy, I feel your story about COVID, that fortunate for me, I haven't had it, but been around people at work. We've had a lot of patients come through that have had it. I spent the most of my day trying to organize our COVID vaccines for our staff. So today we actually were able to get the Moderna vaccinations for our staff. So we spent the day trying to figure out our plan for vaccinating people. You're right, as you were saying, it's a real thing. So I know, some politicians want to act like it's fake and all that kind of stuff. This is the real deal, and you all were trying to figure out, or Andy, you're trying to figure out what, how did you get it? It's truly a born thing. So you could have walked through a mist from somebody who was there 5 seconds ago, and you ingested and take it home, and it incubates for a couple of days, and you spread it on to the family. So I think the more important thing is not to focus so much on how you got it, but once you get it, focus on taking care of it and managing it.
Yep. And you're absolutely correct. Craig. And I got to say, it's good to see you. I haven't seen you in a minute, and I didn't know that you were moved to White Virginia, and I didn't know that you had gotten married and that you had kids and you adopted. So it has been a minute, and it's good. It's good to see you. I appreciate Pierre giving me that update, and we were talking about you before you popped in and saying we hoped you would be here. We also were looking for Irv, but Irv has given us a miss because he's a pussy. So but it's all good. I gotta say, 10 years in, you were the inspiration for both Pierre and I. I think that it's not inappropriate to say that, where my wife just finished her master's degree and is working on her CPA, and I'm getting ready to start mine. Pierre got his. You blazed that trail for us, and showed what could be done and what could be done once you had done that work. So it's inspiring. I'm also looking over at our, Pierre, at our chat window, and for the first time I've ever seen it, we have people watching us live.
Hey.
Dion and Frederick Jones. So, peace out and word up to those people.
So those are my guys.
Who are you calling MC Search, motherfucker?
Right. Calm down, man. It's all good.
Search.
So calm down. Dion's a good dude, and so is Fred. So a little background about them. About to give them a shout out live on the show. Give them a shout out. So we were stationed in Ramstein, Germany together. When during my Air Force years.
Yeah.
Dion and I were in the same squadron, and he's actually one of the first people I met because when I got over there, because we were in the same squadron. Fred came a little bit afterwards, not much, like a little bit after I got there, and Fred and I were roommates. And so, I love both those guys. They don't quite know as many bodies as where Craig knows where they're at, but they know a couple of things. The interesting thing about Fred is that Fred is as East Coast and New York / New Jersey as you can be, as in he loves everything New York. He loves all his New York teams, and he loves Notre Dame. Even though they're not in New York, he loves Notre Dame. So he is the quintessential New Yorker. He really is, but he's a good dude. Dion's a great guy as well. And like the three of us, we did a lot of traveling together. Went to Paris, like first, those are the guys I went with. And it was crazy how we did it because in the military, you have some of these formal things, and we did a dining out. And I was actually, for lack of a better term, I was the host of it. And then right after we were done with it, was like one of the best nights that I'd had in my career, when it just outside of job stuff, just something that I was doing as far as like, how do you put it, squadron camaraderie type things. And it was such a great night for me from a military professional standpoint. And then right after that, we jumped right in the car and drove to Paris. It was awesome.
Okay, but here's my question though. Okay, these guys are good, and I'm glad we have fans. I'm excited that anybody is watching us, especially live. Mm-hmm. But they're calling Craig Big Daddy Kane and calling me MC Search. Why aren't they on the show? If they're going to clown, why don't they bring it proper? So you guys can see that.
Get some microphones, guys, and you can pop the show. But on a serious note, we had a member of Houdini that like passed away today, and so shout out to that. So we're losing some of our hip hop heroes and everything, and so
as we get.
Who was that? I didn't hear that.
So I have to get the name. And like I said, it's like Dion says, it's jokes. Trust me, that's what we would do in the Air Force. We would sit around, we would crack jokes on each other. I think those days are gone, where you can just sit around and clown on people. I don't know if my son will ever be able to sit around with his friends and just crack jokes, because I don't know if kids can take jokes like we used to. Like me and Craig used to do that.
Not these millennial kids. No. Nope, not the millennial kids. They can't do it.
Right. I mean, it'd be times me and Craig, we just in the car, we'll just like clown each other just to do it. Like, and that's what you do.
We all do that, man.
Yeah.
I
And
mean,
then and at the end of it though, I mean you can clown somebody for 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, all night even sometimes. At the end of it, it's like you cool because I mean that's just what you do. There's no
Yeah.
hard feelings about it or
Yeah.
that, you know.
And the great stuff is what comes back at you because you might get what in, but then it's like, all right, what he gonna come back with? Because that's always the fun stuff. But it was Houdini rapper John Ecstasy Fletcher. He's the one that died today, and so sad news. And so bringing up Big Daddy Kane and MC Search makes you think about the old school rappers and that we lost a giant. If you think about it, Houdini's one of the forefathers of rap, and so very sad news.
Dion Peoples gets the gas face.
So, but getting to the show, like we wanted this to be. Even with the news and everything that you said, we wanted this to be kind of a festive show where we can just talk about anything. We can get anything off our chest if we wanted to, but also have a good time. One of the things that I'm thinking about, I wish Irv was on the show, but he's not on the show, so I'll carry this part, is the NBA started back yesterday. So basketball's in full effect. They are not starting off with the bubble for right now. They are playing in their home cities. No fans as of right now. I think it probably might end up depending on the city to where they're going to have fans or not. So far, the places that they have played, Los Angeles and Brooklyn last night, no fans. Interesting thing, though, is the Rockets and the Oklahoma City Thunder were supposed to play tonight, but the game had to be postponed because the Rockets, before the season even started, had like a COVID outbreak where number one of their players has tested positive. And so they did contact tracing and found out like, okay, you were in contact with him and he tested positive. So you guys got to stay home. And then you got James Harden, who has I don't know what's going on with James Harden. I know he wants to get traded, but James Harden, just in the span of a week, he's thumbed his nose at the NBA because the NBA has told players like, hey, during this time period, no clubs, no anything like that. And James Harden was like, I'm taking myself and my beard to the strip club twice. And so it's like he's kind of daring the NBA to do something. And they've told him, you need to stay away. Now, here's what I'm tripping off of, right? So you've been told don't go to the clubs. You probably don't want to be going to a strip club during the pandemic, right? Because you've seen under normal circumstances how many faces are going into like cleavage and stuff during the course of a night at a strip club. And so now you've got a pandemic. I don't think you can call ahead and be like, hey, I want to, make a reservation on Bertha Big Lips or anything like that, right? I don't think you can do that. I don't think you can make reservations on strippers. I don't think you can call up the strip club and like buy out a stripper for the night and say, she's just mine. Like, number one, I don't know. And I guess I should have done my research and I didn't. Like, does anyone know what the COVID protocols are for a strip club? Number one, because does it kind of defeat the purpose for the stripper to be like masked up because you choose which one you get the lap dance from, right? And is there a limit on the number of lap dances a stripper can give? And what the hell is wrong with James Harden to the point where it's like, dude, you've been told and you've gone to the strip club twice. I would think that'd be a COVID hotbed of where not to go.
Well, I gotta presume that, I mean, you ask a comical question, but there's a serious answer in there somewhere, at least for some people. People strip club COVID protocols. I don't think there are any, right, dude? So I mean,
I think you're frozen. Oh man,
Did you lose him?
I think so. I think he got taken out.
All right, hold on a second.
So
Keep
it
talking.
looks
I
like
got to do daddy duty here for a moment.
got you. So I'm carrying this because it appears that the man has gotten frozen trying to look up COVID protocols for the strip clubs. But anyway, why don't Dion and Fred fire things at me and I'll try to answer them? Fred says that strippers are essential workers. I don't know how you figure that,
They are
but
not.
are
They are
not.
not. So first of all right, I want to weigh in on this.
All right.
One, I'm surprised that any strip club is open because I'm like you. How you develop a COVID protocol for strippers, and I would challenge an essential worker. So that's number one. Number two, even if they are open, why would you want to go? I mean, yeah, you're right. Okay, so the chick over there is motorboating COVID to people. I mean, really? And you go pay her for it. So when someone says, "How did you get it?" It's like, oh, I got a $50 lap dance and I got COVID with it. That was the bonus for it. Nah, you don't want to do that. Number three, the NBA is stupid. They should have played in the bubble, right? So they had good success with the bubble last season. They should have gone back to that. If they weren't sure, all they had to do was look at what happened to Major League Baseball and all the stuff that was going on with them, and look what happens to the NFL. What do we have? We had Tuesday night football, Wednesday night football. We had the Denver Broncos, your home team, play without a damn quarterback because of COVID now. So then in the middle of the pandemic, back in the height of it, when everybody, the CDC and everybody else is saying, hey, we're actually in the worst part of the pandemic. They are saying our worst days are not behind us, they're ahead of us. So why, NBA, would you start up the season and let people play at home and not expect that you're going to have a bunch of rescheduled games and crazy stuff going on?
No, I totally agree. And like you said, the NBA probably should have started in the bubble. And the reason
Yes.
why they should have, like you said, is look, we know how NBA players act without supervision, right? We saw that before they could even get started in the bubble with Lou Williams, like escaping it to do what? Go to a strip club and get wings in Atlanta.
Strip clubs.
He left Orlando to go get some. Those must have been some good wings. So NBA players, when it comes down to it, it's like, no, y'all need to be in the bubble. And they had such great success. I'm not sure why they would start outside of it. You had what's his name? Dwayne Haskins, the quarterback for the Washington football team. He was another, like, I don't know what it is with athletes feeling like, let's go to a place that might be a COVID hotspot. And what he did was, after he plays terrible during a game, like, you're the quarterback of the team, right? And you're already under a lot of scrutiny. And like, look, these are grown men. Look, you do whatever you want, right? You probably want to stay out of the strip clubs during the pandemic, though. And what's he do? He goes into one, no mask and everything. He partying and everything too. Then he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry about that. That I got filmed like that. I'll deal with the consequences." Yeah, you about to deal with the consequences, bro. That's what's about to happen. Yeah. And so, yeah, and it's like I don't know what the protocols would be at a strip club during COVID and everything, but
I guess you got to get your lap dance like 6 feet from her or something. I don't know. I mean, I guess maybe they moved all the chairs back from the stage,
right?
And maybe the bouncer comes and you gotta drop your tip into a bucket and they take it over there and sanitize it or something. Right. I don't know. They probably got strippers on the pole who like spraying Lysol as part of their routine.
That's what I was going to ask. Like, what about the pole then? Like, so you probably have
take the poles out. There's no poles.
No poles. So we are establishing the strip club protocol so that way James Harden can be safe or what have you. So we can take out the poles. You got a mask up. Sorry about that. If she got jacked up teeth, you won't know it because she got a mask on. You got to have a mask on too. You got to get your lap dance 6 feet away. So you're going to have to, and also there's a limit on the number of lap dances that you can get as a stripper.
Actually, what they should really do is, if you really want to be safe, then when you come into the strip club, you should be assigned a stripper. This is your stripper for the night. So that way we limit exposure. So if she got it or you got it, you only go infect each other. Instead of you like, oh, I'm gonna get a lap dance from this girl, and then I'm gonna get a lap dance from that girl, whatever. You got your assignment. Now the risk of that though is when you come into the club, whoever's next, you might get the ugly one. So you got to be careful about. I want to step back and watch the rotation, see who up, because you know you go in, you might be locked into the ugly stripper that nobody wants. You know
exactly. So the man, he's shown back up. Apparently, he lost internet, and so now we need to let him back in the show. But I'm actually not the host of the show, so I don't know if I can let him in. So he's been locked out of the stream that he started. So we've got all types of chaos going on right here. This is one heck of a show.
Man, this is sounding like you may need the Brother and the Man show may need a COVID test. Something a little strange going on.
I know, man. There's something going on. The stream may need one too. Yeah. So we have to figure out how to get the man back in the show, but we're going to keep going. But yeah, strippers. Oh, rotation. So no, I don't think you want to do rotation, Dion. The reason why you don't want to do rotation, see, you start doing rotation and stuff, you passing that around. That's the whole thing. You know, maybe you go in a little pod, a little plexiglass pod or something like that. So who knows? Oh, Fred Jones says he lost everything. So, hey, the man is back. He made it back in. He made it.
I had to reboot my cable modem.
Man.
They'll teach you about technology, Craig. Don't trust it.
Yeah, but I was saying, I mean, you might want to see your cable modem may have had COVID too.
Yeah, well, everybody else here has got the damn thing, so you know. The only person that we're not sure doesn't have it was the dog, and he just sleeps all the fucking time. So, sorry for the bad language words.
It's okay. We mark it explicit anyway, so you know it's not like people ain't heard it before.
So I can say whatever I want to say.
You can say whatever you want.
So we on a cable network. This isn't regular TV. This is cable, right?
Exactly. This is cable.
This is a show FX.
Right. This isn't ABC. This is cable.
Yeah, but keep in mind we all have kids in the room, though.
Yeah, I'm not. I mean, I got my kids running around. I'm not going. But I do want to say, speaking of FX, so I don't know when FX sort of switched over to they just say whatever. But I remember what I was watching. I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. I had to check. Like, am I watching X? Like, oh, a commercial just. But this dude just said the F word, and they say whatever on FX. Mm-hmm. Remember when we were kids? Do you remember cable from way back in the day? They show rated R movies like after 10 o'clock at night. Remember that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember that. Now they show them during the middle of the day.
Yeah, now turn it on at like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. You see somebody banging somebody out, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Gotta watch that.
Watching this new series on HBO called Industry.
Industry, okay.
Yeah, I've seen more dudes naked wanted to see. It's like, what's the deal?
Mm-hmm. Hey, that's the shows these days. Speaking of shows, I'm sure you all have seen the preview to Coming to America, the sequel to Coming to America.
That's right.
It dropped 2 days ago, and you know, Pierre, I got to say, the thing that I always say when these movies drop, you can't polish a turd.
Right.
These movies are never as good as you want them to be. Very rarely.
So fundamentally, here's my issue. I'm gonna watch it because I love Coming to America.
Right.
I'm gonna watch it. But here's my issue fundamentally with the sequel as it is. So, and I'm sure they're gonna explain this during the movie, but on the surface,
they probably won't.
He didn't impregnate anyone in America when he was there. That I'm like, what chick did he get with? Right. So I'm like, how do you have a male heir in New York? Right. I'm trying to figure that part out. It's because I'm thinking the premise is, okay, I'm going to go back to America because we found out that I got a kid there. And they were very, very deliberate with that story of following Akeem to where it's like, there's no way he strayed to the point to where like he had a kid and just left it there. I don't buy that.
So I guess the premise is that there's the one scene where they're in the bar in Queens and they're meeting all the freaks right? The Joan of Arc reincarnated and all this stuff. So apparently, and I'm going to fill in some blanks, but apparently in his pushback against all of these people, he wasn't able to push back successfully against Leslie Jones. And Leslie Jones is, able
His
to,
baby mama.
right.
No. Okay. So I guess that's how they're going to explain it. I mean, so I guess they're saying him and the queen either only had girls or they didn't have any children at all, because James Earl Jones's character, Jaffe Joffa, makes a point to say that you need a male heir, which is, kind of chauvinistic, considering that, if Akeem is like the direct next person, I thought how monarchies work, unless it's different in Zamunda, is that, hey, whoever's next of like the bloodline should be the person that's either the queen next or something. But I guess they're not following that type of monarchy like they do with the Anglos in England.
Every country has its own rules, but in England it was males before females, and they just changed that. So starting with William's kids, it's firstborn and not firstborn male. But every country is different. I think that given the modern day, that might be part of the delivered message, that maybe if he has a daughter with his wife and he has a son from whatever other side of the sheets, maybe that's part of the message is that, hey, you've got a perfectly good daughter. Why does it have to be men? I'm the firstborn, I'm the male heir, but starting after me, my daughter will blah blah blah. That's probably part of the politically correct message that we all are gonna see.
He'll probably change the rules. Especially since he was sowing his royal oats before he left to come to America, right? So he was doing that. So he could have a bunch of little Akeems out there that could have like a little coming to America war to see who's going to be like the heir. That would be a good.
Was he sowing his royal oats before he came to America?
Yeah, because remember he would get his baths and stuff, and
but remember his dad said, "Oh, I thought the bathers were taking care of you," and he kind of made it seem like they were not, because Dad said that the bathers were taking care of him, and what was Arsenio Hall's character's name? I can't think of his name, but obviously the bathers were taking care of him. Akeem seemed like he was passing on that, didn't know that was part of the bath.
Right. Well, I would say he got bored. I think he got bored. Like, I'm not going to marry none of them. I want to get married, and I don't see any of them as I'm going to marry, because I've already, as he put, soiled them, or stuff like that. So he was looking on like the map, and that's why he found queens. It's like, I'll find a queen for me.
Bark like a big dog.
Yeah. So yeah, the royal penis is.
Regardless of what the storyline is, it'll be an interesting show. So I mean,
take a different
everybody
approach.
In America, no pun intended, is looking forward to it coming out.
Take a different. Taking a different approach. Okay, I will say this. I maintain constantly that the artist is always in charge of their art. So it's up to Eddie Murphy if he wants to practice being funny and in what way. So if he wants to make family friendly movies, that's his right. I lament the lost generation of Eddie Murphy brilliance that his stand up, his cutting edge humor could have given us, right? That's lost opportunity, in the same way that I was frustrated with Dave Chappelle when he took a break for a decade, but that's their art to practice. I'm super excited about the idea that Eddie Murphy's going to come back and do some stand up, and that he's going to actually do some comedy in this kind of vein where he's, for a better term, cutting edge, and not taking a safe family friendly approach, that he's going to go out on the edge and be Eddie Murphy again. So I'm excited about that concept. these idea of these old movies from when we were kids from 20, 30 years ago, and let's update them for a new generation. I haven't seen the new Bill and Ted yet, but I'm just not expecting much from it. And I gotta think that this is going to be similar. It's Eddie Murphy and family and friends getting back up on screen for 2 hours, and it'll be funny. It won't be as good as the original, and it's okay. I'm looking forward to seeing it.
They bring back Randy and Sexual Chocolate. I'm looking forward to that because that is one of my favorite parts. I love that part of the movie. Oh my God, it's so fun.
It's a great movie. I do love that movie. That's from when I was in high school. So, yeah, it's been a long time. It's been a long time, but it's a long time coming, I suppose. But it's still polishing a turd.
Yeah, it's
all right. So let's speaking of sort of reboots. So what about Top Gun? What thought them redoing that? That's one of my favorite movies. So I'm curious to see what they're going to do to it.
So the little bit that I do know, and they've pushed it back again because of COVID, because Tom Cruise want to get y'all in that theater and get his money. But the thing about it is, I know, and here's the thing, and I try not to nitpick things, but Tom Cruise is pushing 60 years old, right? That fool is still basically a captain in like Top Gun, right? And it's like, and as the other two military guys that are on here, the military will not let you stay in that long under the same rank, right?
No. And I mentioned this like the minute they announced the concept, right? Even if you bend some time a little bit, right? So it's 1985. He's got to be 25. He's a lieutenant. He's an 03, right? So now you fast forward 35 years, right? How many dudes?
He should be a freaking admiral by now.
Well, exactly. How many dudes have you known? How many dudes are in the military for 35, 40 years, unless they're flag rank, so it doesn't make sense. Okay, well, they busted him down and we're going to shave 5 years off of each end and bend time a little bit. When we saw it in the mid 80s, it was actually the late 80s, and this movie takes place in the mid 2000s. Okay, still, but what is the likelihood that this 5'0" little dude is still running around flying Super Hornets at the age of 60? As a wing commander,
right? Exactly, and it's so there's that.
That's the beauty of cinema and writing. You can make whatever happen. I mean,
and you can.
That's one of the reasons I'm a huge fan of sci-fi, because people just create whole new worlds and universes and stuff, and that doesn't appeal to me. And there may be some connection to reality for me, but you're right. So it'll be interesting to see, how they spin this, because, dude, your career hasn't advanced at all.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's the whole thing. It's like, how you been in that long and you haven't advanced? And that's from the trailer. I'm assuming what they're gonna do is he's probably gonna be struggling with a midlife crisis of, number one, you got a new crop of pilots coming up, and then also the military trying to get to a point of drones doing most of the work. So I'm assuming that's where his dilemma is going to be, and whether he's going to get out or not. I'm assuming they wrote off Kelly McGillis's character because instead Jennifer Connelly, one of Andy's favorites, is in the movie.
Yeah, and don't talk bad about her, even though she's old.
Dude,
she's old and thin, and she got the wrong surgery, but she's still amazing. So, we'll put that aside. It is an interesting concept because, what story do you tell? And I mean, you have the next generation, you have Goose's son, I Hate You, you have I don't know what all but all these all of these are based upon the principle that he's going to be able to fly a plane and do these amazing things. And I've read amazing things about what they did, right? So they put him in the front of a plane or the back of the plane, and then it's actual practical shots. It's less CGI than before. I don't buy that, but more practical effects. The movie looks good in that sense. It's just the concept of him as a geriatric admiral you know, I just can't get past it. And Craig said something about
not an admiral. He's not an
Yeah,
admiral.
he's not an admiral. His career has not advanced. And they say that during the preview. His
Right.
career has not advanced.
right. I use my words wrong, but he you know, Greg said something about science fiction allowing you to create your own world and for lack of a better term, suspend disbelief. But you know, this is the kind of story where you don't want to suspend disbelief, and there's only so much disbelief you can suspend. So I think it's a question that needs an answer, and I don't know what the answer is going to be, but that's part of the storytelling, I suppose.
Mm-hmm. And I'm going to watch it. I'm going to watch it. That's what I do because, I love movies. And speaking of loving movies, I saw Tenet. We actually purchased it. We bought it because we want to see it. And I love anything Christopher Nolan does. Anthony is a Christopher Nolan mark, and Tenet is actually very good. Is actually very, 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 very good movie. I loved it.
You got bad reviews.
I love the movie, but I'm in sync with Christopher Nolan. So I love the movie. It's a very clever movie. People are always good. People are always going to find a reason to hate on a movie, and some things are justifiably so. I don't think Christopher Nolan has made a bad movie. I cannot name a bad Christopher Nolan movie. The closest to that is The Dark Knight Rises, and it wasn't bad. It just had timing issues, but it wasn't god awful or anything like that.
It's got some bad.
Watch Tenet. Watch Tenet.
Have you watched Dunkirk yet?
I've not watched it yet.
Okay, so
that's the only one I haven't seen.
You go talk about Christopher Nolan movies, but you haven't seen Dunkirk. So go watch Dunkirk.
I've seen all the other ones. Come on, I know that's going to be good.
I'm just saying, sit down when you have 2 hours.
I got 2 hours.
Make sure you have an open mind because the way he, you know how Christopher Nolan does, where he tells the story in a different way, right? Mm-hmm. So it's confusing until you get about 2/3 of the way through the movie, and then everything falls into place. Watch Dunkirk. Dunkirk is amazing.
That's all of his movies except like the Dark Knight trilogy. It's okay.
Right. I can handle it. I get it. And that's exactly correct. And that's why we enjoy him, because he's taking cinema making and he's not taking it for granted. He's doing something at a higher level with his movie making, whether it's telling a better story or creating a more sophisticated situation or doing something technical that is more challenging. And that's what we hope for in these movies. And, we talked a couple of weeks ago about why we have differing opinions on various Star Wars movies being poor. And the more I think about that, that's the kind of concept I was coming away with, is that there are ways to tell popcorn movies and make popcorn movies, but tell a good story and not have the plot be stupid. And the Star Wars movies have, vacated that to a certain degree. He doesn't. His movies are good movies, and I'm glad you liked Tenet. I haven't seen it yet, but I'm wanting to watch it when I get a chance.
Yeah, I liked it. So we got a couple of comments here that I'm looking at here. So Fred Jones says Nolan is selfish. He didn't want to release any of his movies during the pandemic. And I'd like to answer that, because when they first kept pushing back Tenet, the amount of money that it costs, I can understand why they didn't want that. He didn't want his movies just going straight to HBO Max, like they just did for one of Denzel Washington's movies, and they pissed off Denzel because they didn't talk to him about it. Like one of his movies is about to get released directly there, and they didn't talk to him about it. So they didn't go on and made that man mad. And that's what was making Chris Nolan mad as well. It's like, we need to recoup this money. I spent all this time and effort, and you want to just throw it on the streaming services and nobody goes to the movie. I get that part of the business. Look, I would love for every movie to come out on the streaming services and be of high quality, because to be honest with you, there is a difference in quality of movies made directly for Amazon Prime and Netflix and movies that are made that you go to the theater and then they release them later. There is a difference in quality. If you don't believe me, you watch a couple of those movies on Netflix that they made. One of them, for instance, being the Ryan Reynolds movie where he's the hitman. Like, it's so unmemorable and everything. It's an okay movie. It's directed by Michael Bay. I know that's going to drive you crazy, but I didn't think it was that good of a movie. And then there was another movie, 999, and that should have been I thought there was going to be a great movie, and it. Not that it falls apart, it's just not that appealing. So there's a difference in quality. So I get where Chris Nolan was coming from, and I get where Tom Cruise is coming from. I get where Denzel is coming from. And in the case of Denzel, Denzel said that I don't necessarily have a problem with you guys releasing to the streaming services, but you got to talk to me first. Don't go negotiate nothing on my behalf when I'm the producer and director of this movie. Don't go doing that. You just went behind my back and you did this. And in a way, they probably cut him out of some of his money he was probably owed.
Right. So, these guys, we come at them, we come at them as fans and as consumers of a product. But we have to look at it from a different perspective of, these guys are hopefully, in a perfect world, what we complain about is the lack of art. Mm-hmm. And if these guys are creating art, part of that equation is I'm going to make this movie so that it can be seen in a certain way on the screen, a screen of a certain size with a certain amount of technology behind it. I'm making a popcorn movie. I want there to be popcorn impact, or I'm making a sophisticated story and I want there to be nuance or whatever. So for these guys to create this product with a certain delivery in mind, and also to spend the money and expect to see a return on that investment, especially if they're getting back end money, and then to have all of that vacated because you're going to release it in the theater or on a streaming service, for free, or what it amounts to being close to free. Well, you've cut your revenue, you've cut your profit. You're going to make your money back, HBO, Warner Brothers, what have you, because, you bought the rights and now you need to make that money back, and you're going to do it by selling, subscriptions to HBO Max. But what kind of damage are you doing to the long-term product, to the art? Jeff said early on in March and April, when Trolls came out, that he thought that theaters were going to go away. And I made the counter argument that I don't think theaters are going to go away, but they may become, specialized. Artists are going to create movies for theaters. Theaters are going to continue to exist. And there may be less of them, but these people are making these movies for that purpose. And this HBO Max experiment, I think, is going to be very, very interesting over the coming year.
Right. I'll say one other thing before we move on to it, kind of to address some of the things that are coming on the chat. And I like this forum. So great feedback by Fred and Dion. To answer your question about Mulan, what Disney Plus did, I wouldn't say they necessarily raised the price. Disney Plus set a price of, if you want to see this movie, it's not coming out in the theaters, here is what the price is. Me and my wife, we paid the price for myself, her, and my son to watch this. And the reason why we did, and I'm okay with this model to an extent, is that if they're going to follow that and they say, okay, you're going to have to pay this amount of money to watch this movie like it was released in the theater. The reason why I was okay is because it was like, okay, this is what I would have paid. We were going to go see this movie in the theater anyway. So therefore, we just pretty much paid to be able to watch it at home, the price that we were going to go pay to watch it in the movie theater. I'm actually okay with that as well. I'm not necessarily opposed to that, but I think there are certain movies though and I know it's going to be hard because we don't know what's going to happen with movie theaters after this is all over, because they've taken a beating. But the thing about it is, there are some movies you just have to see in the theater. And I'm okay with some people saying, like, you have to see this in the theater first. I'm good with that. It's a business. They're trying to make their money. I totally get it. So I'm not necessarily opposed to that.
So yeah. Let me jump in there real quick, which is I actually kind of agree with both of you. So I do think the whole movie industry, because of COVID, is going to change. And I would have
Mhm.
said in the summer, the movie theater industry was dead. But now, as I think about it a little bit more, I kind of agree with what Andy says, which is I think what we're going to see is a change in the market. They're going to become specialized, and there will be
Mhm.
still be some movies that go to movie theaters first, like we're used to. But I think a lot of them will now be made to go to a streaming service or to a Disney or something where you have to pay a fee to watch it. So the convenience factor is what I enjoy out of it,
Mhm.
because I would much rather find a time that's convenient for me to watch the movie versus having to be somewhere at 7:10 or 9:25 to see it. Now there is an experience you get out of that, but I mean, as a parent and with everything else that's going on, it becomes more about the convenience. And kind of like you were saying, I would pay $20 or $30 to watch it at home on my own time, especially if I could get like 24-hour access to it. Because how many
Mhm.
times have you seen something in the movie theater? You're like, oh, I wish I could rewind because I missed something he said, or I missed something. I want to see that again. If you get it at home and you're able to watch it, then hopefully you have. So I think we're going to certainly see some changes in it, and there will be, what we're seeing now is movies that were made for the movie theater that are now being adapted and put on streaming services. To your point, they will start designing them for the streaming services. So I think we'll see better quality and all of that. So time will tell. Guys, I appreciate having me on as a guest. I got to
Yeah.
bow out now so I can get back to some other things. But good to see you all. Happy holidays to you as well, and take care.
Happy holidays. Good seeing you, brother.
See you, Craig. Have a good afternoon. Merry Christmas, sir.
So yeah, we got Craig on. That was good stuff right there. We have Dion and Fred firing at us, so that's been good stuff as well. So this has been a good show. I've liked this medium. This has been pretty good with the live interaction and and that other perspective. So good stuff.
I appreciate it as well. We have been doing this for an hour, and
Before you
before I
go,
go, I'm not
I
going anywhere.
understand. I understand you got beef though with Best Buy.
It's an entertaining anecdote. We couldn't do our my company has locations in St. Louis, Kansas City, Phoenix, and Las Vegas, and we couldn't do a in-person Christmas party in the St. Louis office. So we did a virtual Christmas party just for the employees, and we all got on Teams a week ago Saturday, and did everybody was piled in, and we spun a wheel, and we gave away a whole buttload of prizes, and some the prizes, uh, some of them were won by people that were in remote offices, but that were still, I had purchased them in St. Louis. They're in my office, some of them large, but they need to go to someone who's in Las Vegas or Phoenix. So
Mhm.
what we're doing is in those cases, we're returning those devices to Best Buy and then buying equivalent devices in that market so that they can be picked up, and we're saving the shipping cost of us having to ship something large to Phoenix or what have you. So we have a laptop. Somebody won a laptop in Las Vegas, and so we returned the laptop to the St. Louis location, and I buy an equivalent laptop yesterday morning to have delivered in Las Vegas. And so what I didn't expect was for it to be delivered the same day. So I placed the order for the Microsoft Surface laptop, like what you have,
Mhm.
and it's supposed to go to the person. So it's going to be delivered. I placed the order, and I'm going to have it delivered to our Las Vegas office. And what they do is they pull it off the shelf in the location in Las Vegas. They package it up, and then a third-party courier company, kind of like what I do for my company, called Shipped, that delivers Target parcels and groceries and whatnot from the store to your door in each location, they decided that they were going to deliver this laptop to the office. And so the laptop arrived yesterday afternoon. I get notification on my phone that your parcel has been delivered, your laptop has been delivered, and everything's great. And I move about my evening. I get word this morning that the laptop never showed up. So I have to call Best Buy and say, we placed an order. We thought it was going to ship. You delivered it, but we don't have it. Where is it? And can you send another? And they have to talk to the third party. And the third party says, well, we dropped it. We have GPS showing that we were at the location, but we have no proof that we delivered it. So because they have to have an argument between the two parties about where the product is, the entire purchase is then stalled for several days, which means I had to purchase another laptop on my own dime and have that delivered, because it's not fair to the person who won the laptop to have to wait or go without. Best Buy is usually really, really good, and we buy a lot of products from them, and I've been a loyal customer to them for years. And this is not the kind of thing that breaks that relationship, but where's the laptop at? And they play the whole, we delivered it, you have it game. And now I'm not looking forward to having to do that over the next several business days of, arguing with them about, you said you delivered it, we didn't get it, and now we're not going to pay for it and all that stuff. So it's a bummer, because I spent probably an hour working on that today when I have a million other things I could be doing 2 days before Christmas.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
Good. Fred says that you're keeping Best Buy from bankruptcy. So he's coming with that on it. So Best Buy, shame on you. You're usually much better than that. Don't make this guy mad. Don't upset him. He deserves better.
Yeah, Best Buy gets the gas face.
I'm going to say 2 words to Dion and Fred that are watching this right now, that I'm going to jar their memories for a bit before we hop off here, if we don't have much else to talk about. But it just popped in my head. I don't know why it did, but Fred, Dion, especially you, Fred, you should know this. I'm going to say 2 words: juice meter, and I'm going to leave it at that. But no, this has been an okay show. This has been a good show. I've liked this. We should continue that, keep it free flowing. We can have a little humor. We can get a little serious every now and then. We did not get a chance to talk about Moss versus Rice. We could probably do that real quick before we sign off. The Randy Moss versus Jerry Rice beef.
Yeah, let's talk about Randy Moss versus Jerry Rice, because hey,
we got another guest. We got Mike Shaw up in here. Look at that. He showed up.
No, he didn't. Where's he at?
He's in the comments talking. He said happy holidays. He should be preparing his equipment to spin some records. I guess you don't call him spinning records anymore.
I don't see him. Where's he at? Oh, there's Mike Shaw. Hey, Mike Shaw.
Mike Shaw.
Why you be shading us, man? We've been talking about you for 6 months and trying to get you on here, and where are you at? And so
well, he came on,
I'm pointing at you, Mike Shaw. All right. Yeah, I know he came on.
Yeah. Moss versus Rice. Moss versus Rice.
Is it even worth entertaining? I mean,
we can talk. We can talk about it.
My point is why did Moss even run his mouth? Why?
Well, I think they asked him. I think they asked him a question of, who do you feel is the best wide receiver of all time? And every wide receiver thinks they're better than everybody. Is what it is. They're diva wide receivers, is what they are, and I'm okay with that. But then, look, I would have been okay if Randy Moss had said he was the greatest of all time, because he would probably say that. You ask Terrell Owens, he's going to say that, right? Now everybody knows, unarguably, Jerry Rice is the greatest wide receiver of all time. But the thing about it is, seriously, that's not even a debate. But I am okay with Randy Moss saying that he felt he's the greatest wide receiver of all time. I'm actually okay with that. Where I draw beef with Randy Moss, though, is he said Jerry Rice is probably 3rd or 4th. I was like, okay, hold on a second now. It's like, what are you doing? Had he said like Jerry Rice was 2nd to him, I'd have been okay with that. But he was like 3rd or maybe 4th. It's like, who you ranking ahead of Jerry Rice?
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah, and again, I mean that was my point. Uh, Jerry Rice. Jerry Rice is the leader, right? Surely he's
He's got all of the
the
records.
sorry,
He's got all of the records.
right? He's the best receiver in his generation, and he's got the rings and the stats to prove it, right? So why is there a debate on that? You can debate quarterbacks from the '80s and the '90s, and you and I will, and we'll talk about Joe Montana versus Dan Marino, and it's a fun conversation. But
Mhm.
a scoreboard and stats have a tendency to shift through those things, and we that generation had half a dozen great quarterbacks. Every generation does. It's not unusual, but to have Randy Moss come out and say that it was so stupid because I just saw the headline and it was like, what the fuck? Why is this fool even talking? Who brought him out during COVID and this election shit show, this dumpster fire of a year? Who thought that this was the conversation that we needed to have? But
Right.
maybe that's exactly the point,
It was a fun conversation, and then I put it on the Facebook medium, and then I guess I touched a couple of nerves because I had one guy come at me and say Larry Fitzgerald is the second of all best of all time. I was like, get out of here. And then we had another person say I left off a couple of people like Michael Irvin and Tim Brown, and then he said Marcus Colston. I was like, okay, you're on all of the cracks right now. I mean, come on, Marcus Colston, come on.
But
It's like it's like
neither of these guys are the greatest receiver of all time.
Colston's not even in the top 50.
No, my point is that Randy Moss and neither of these guys are they're all great, but they're not the greatest of all time. If we talk about all time, now you're talking about more than 100 years of football. You've got to go back to when your dad was a kid, when I was a kid. You got to look at the 70s and the 80s. You can't just look at who was winning Super Bowls in the late 80s, early 90s.
You have to look at the history of the league, and one of my personal favorites is Lance Allworth, who I think was the first mega wide receiver to where it's like dominant, get me the ball, blah blah blah. He went for 1,600 yards in 1965. Think about how significant that is. That he went for 1,600 yards in 1965.
Right. And every 3 or 4 years you get that guy, right? I grew up in a time period when 4 Super Bowl rings was the record, and Roger Stallworth was catching balls and tearing up yardage. So you're right in that they were the divas, and they come from the diva age, and they paved the way for wide receivers to be the superstars that they are today. But it's still comedy. It is comedy, and for it to come out of nowhere like that, because that's not what I was expecting when I was logging in that afternoon to see, let's all. What the fuck?
I wasn't expecting a Marcus Colston to be like, people outside of NOLA don't know about him. I'm like, no, I know about him. I'm like. And I went and looked it up right after I said it, because I was having this discussion in another medium with Irv and Mike Shaw, who's joined a couple other people. I said, Marcus Colston is Jordy Nelson. That's what he is. And then I went and looked at the stats, and I'll be damned if their stats aren't almost identical. That's who he is. And Jordy Nelson is okay, just like Marcus Colston is okay. But if you really think they in the top 5 wide receivers of all time, and I just don't know about them, somebody's on all of the cracks.
So let me ask you about something else that happened in the month that we have been gone, that you were extremely frustrated with. We were talking on Twitter while it was happening, and this is the tragedy that was not Mike Tyson versus Roy Jones Jr., but the undercard. Do you want to speak on that, because that's something that we lost? And
so one of my friends, he up and we went over to his place and watched the Tyson and Roy Jones spectacle, right? It was an exhibition. I knew how that was going to end. That wasn't even the best part of it, right? That just was what it was. The undercard had Nate Robinson, used to play for the New York Knicks. So yeah, Fred, I'm about to clown. Used to play for the New York Knicks. Apparently him and Jake Paul, from what I understand, I didn't go research because I was like, I'm not wasting my time on that. Apparently somehow they got into some type of beef to where they decided they were going to box each other on the undercard of this fight. Now, Jake Paul is a guy that, cut his teeth boxing on YouTube, right? and then you got Nate Robinson, who has the way it looked to me when he was in that ring, has never had a fight in his life, let alone boxing. So they decided to box on the undercard. And Nate Robinson, for lack of a better term, got knocked the fuck out, right? That's pretty much what happened. Like, he got dropped. He was asleep. I mean, he was running in like he was trying to draw a foul during like the boxing match and stuff. He's like throwing his hands up. Like, clearly this dude's never like thrown. I don't think he's ever thrown a punch at anyone before in his life, man. So, trying to sit up here and be like, I'm going to go from basketball to boxing, and I'm going to do it he was like, I'm doing it for the culture. I'm doing it for the athletes. And he went in there and got his ass knocked out and got the nerve to have the last name of Robinson. And like I said, he's going to need to change his last name or just drop it, because no, you're not going to go around representing my last name out there like you ain't ever thrown a punch before. Like, that's how he looked. He looked like he'd never thrown a punch. It's like, you never got in a fight when you were a kid playing basketball on the playground? Ever?
It was the whole evening was surreal. So I'm like, my approach was, I'm not paying to watch, this train wreck that is Tyson versus Roy Jones Jr. And by all accounts, I did watch an illegal stream as it was happening as best I could that you sent me. So thank you for that. But I was able to watch it, and it was an exhibition. It was what it was. Tyson looked better than I thought he would, but there's just so many tragic events that happened within a 2-hour period. Number one, who the fuck put Snoop Dogg on commentary? Right. So it was terrible, and then, the people around him being enchanted by the idea that he's there. So all commentary was suspended, right, and completely compromised because it just. And then you talk about how I'm more plugged into Black Twitter on occasion than you are. So I'm looking at Twitter and they're saying the same thing about Robinson that you're saying, and somebody said. Oh, Black Twitter is upset. And then there was this pushback from Black Twitter about, when you say Black Twitter, it sounds racist. It was just amazing. You can't say Black Twitter to whoever the fuck said it. Oh, when you say that, suddenly it sounds racist. It's like, man, what kind of fucking culture are we living in? And then we all look at the White House and wonder what's going on. Look in the mirror first. So,
and he's gone entirely scorched earth and everything now. So
I need 72 hours away from news about what he's doing. This idea that a week ago he started considering using, I don't know who he thinks he's going to call to do martial law, because he's done pissed off every single officer in the military. I don't know what generals and admirals and Tom Cruises he's going to call on that are going to answer him and say, yes, sir, let's definitely do this thing. But, between the, oh, I can manipulate legislature, nothing passes unless I sign it. So, I'm going to demand this at the 13th hour, or I'm going to pardon everybody around me, or whatever the hell he's doing. I need it to be over. A month ago, I predicted he would be courteous and call it a day by the end of the week. That's clearly not happening. And, I become extremely concerned to the point where I can't even think about it. I have to put it out of my mind.
One way or another, he's getting out January 20th, and we can start to repair our country.
Yeah, I hope that is the case, and I hope that we have a we have a country to repair when we get there. So Snoop is not coming for Joe Buck's job, and I'm I think I'm done.
All right. Well, good. You made it through and everything. I'd like to thank Craig again. He's not here, but good having him on the show. Monumental effort by you to make it through the show. So good stuff on that. I'd like to thank our guests or our attendees. Hey, Morgan, how's it going? So I'd like to thank our people that came on and provided some good commentary that was live and everything with Dion and Fred and Mike Shaw. So good stuff. Going to hop off. We were supposed to be doing a live holiday party with the sounds of DJ Mighty Mike, also known as Mike Shaw, but he is punked out on me and he's not going to DJ. So what I'm going to do is I'm about to throw up a link someplace, and anybody that wants to pop on can pop on, and we just going to have an impromptu holiday party. That's what we're going to do. And thank you, Fred.
So you're saying that Mike Shaw is a punk ass biatch?
I didn't call him that. I said biznitch. That's what I said.
You said biatch.
Okay. Got lost in translation. No, I'm just messing around. Mike Shaw, just joking, brother. Just joking, brother. Just messing with you. Anyway, good seeing you guys. I'm going to throw up a link. Anybody that want to get on can get on.
Merry Christmas and
Yes.
Happy New Year. And look for the next show to be close to an inauguration, unless things start to go really sideways and we have to get in and start talking.
I know. So fingers crossed this food doesn't go too much more scorched earth.
I'm going to have to clean my gun.
You might have to.
All right.
Bring out the twins. Holla, y'all. Peace.
Word up.